Welcome to the $100 MBA Show, and today is a Q&A weekend episode where we answer your question right here on the show. If you want to ask a question, you can email us at contact@100mba.net, or you can use our Speak It option where you record your question and we'll play it on the air. And you can check that on the show page at 100mba.net/show. As always, I'm your host, your coach, your teacher, Omar Zenhom. I'm also the co-founder of the $100 MBA, a complete business training and community online. And today's question comes from Kat. And Kat asks, what other podcasts do you recommend? Wow, we have 2 podcasting type questions this weekend. This one's going to be a fun one. Kat, thank you for your question and thanks for listening to the $100 MBA Show. All right, I guess the best way for me to answer this question is if I pull out my phone and see which shows I'm subscribed to. I have a lot of shows that I'm subscribed to here on my phone. And just for the sake of time, I'll probably just mention 4 or 5 podcasts that I really recommend and I listen to for different reasons. Not all of these are business podcasts, and I'll explain why. But let me get started here. So one of my favorite podcasts is Here's the Thing by Alec Baldwin. Yes, Alec Baldwin, the actor. He has a podcast called Here's the Thing, and he interviews different, actors, celebrities. And I really like to listen to the show because Alec Baldwin is a pro on the mic. And as a podcaster, I like to listen to people that are really, really good and just pick up on some of his techniques, some of his strengths. I especially like the way he reads his ads, actually. His voice is fantastic, and his intonation, the way he uses his voice is fantastic. And besides that, the show is actually really, really good, and the questions he asks are really personal, and you get to know the person behind the talent, behind the acting, or whatever they do. The show is produced by WNYC, and it's a very well-done production. It's kind of my professional development while enjoying a great story or a great interview. Speaking of stories, one of my favorite podcasts is The Unmistakable Creative by Srinivas Rao. The Unmistakable Creative is an interview show, but it's very like no other interview show. His guests are so original. The stories they share are mind-blowing, literally mind-blowing. Your mind may just blow up. Seriously, it's every single episode I listen to, the stories that are shared really shift my perspective on the way I think about certain things. Now, these are not necessarily business people that he's interviewing. They're creatives, they're authors, they're different type of thinkers or world shakers, as he calls them. One of his most popular interviews is with Joe Loya, and it's titled Confessions of a Bank Robber. Joe shares his story as a bank robber. He was a former bank robber who was incarcerated, and he shares a lot of his life and how it was in prison and kind of dispels a lot of mystery around people that have a history like that. He's a best-selling author now and, has been out of prison for, decades. But there's so much shared in that story that makes you rethink or reevaluate the way you think about certain things or certain people. And every episode is just like that. So I would check out The Unmistakable Creative. Let's take a look at another podcast I would recommend. Here's a straight-up business podcast, Startup, which is the #1 business podcast since it launched. Startup is by Alex Blumberg, who is a part of This American Life, which is one of the best podcasts of all time. And Startup is a documentary-style show that explores starting a business. It's really well done, and I love the honesty that Alex portrays and shares with everybody on the show. It's a weekly show, and it's about 30 to 40 minutes an episode. And I actually like how they do their ads. They do it in documentary style as well. They interview the founders or people that work for the sponsor. It's really cool. So check out Startup by Gimlet Media, which is the name of the business that they're starting on the show, which is a podcast network. Another interview show I really enjoy is called How Did You Get Into That by Grant Baldwin. Grant is actually a friend of mine, and I really like the way he interviews people. He's a friendly guy. He's fun. He gets some really interesting guests. And if you're looking for like a solid interview show, I would really go with the Grant Baldwin show, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, business people, maybe even people that are doing something that's creative and different in this world. And one more podcast, a podcast that I enjoy just for fun, is called Hardcore History by Dan Carlin. And it's a fun podcast about history or historical people. He takes a look at people like Alexander the Great and even Hitler and analyzes these characters, and he really makes it approachable. I'm a history fan. I like to read about history, and I love some of the questions that Dan brings up in the podcast. Of course, it's very well done, high production value. And the best way to describe the show is that it's really hard to classify. It's not for everyone because it's quite edgy, but it's definitely worth a listen, so give it a shot. All right, Kat, I hope that answers your question. I hope I added a few more podcasts to your list. Check those out. I got a few more as well that I enjoy, but maybe I'll share them on another time. Guys, if you want to ask a question on the $100 MBA show, just email us at contact@100mba.net, or you can use our Speak It option on the show page at 100mba.net/show. And if you love the show, you love what we're doing, and you want to support us, all you got to do is give us an iTunes rating and review. We would really, really appreciate it, and it would really help us get more exposure and grow our audience. Guys, I want to leave you with this. Podcasts are a great way to learn while having fun. And it doesn't have to be about business. It could just be enriching yourself as a person. And what I love about podcasts is that you could be doing other things while you're listening to them. You could be walking your dog, you can be at the gym, you could be driving to work, you could be doing the dishes, you could be doing the laundry. You know, a lot of our listeners say they binge listen, where they listen to 3 or 4 episodes in a row while they fold their laundry. So podcasts are a really, really fun and easy way to fill your brain with some really good stuff. So I hope that I'm doing that for you with this podcast, and I encourage you to do the same with some others as well. All right, guys, I'll check you in the next episode. Take care.